that it was getting too dangerous, and also because of one that I won't mention his name, one of the ergonomists who he felt should have been sort of restricted in what he was doing, but that particular ergonomist was extremely helpful for Dr. Ike, who later on did restrict him. Now go ahead.
Isn't there a distinction, though, between the plague at work, like through magazine articles and so forth, affecting people's ideas, and when it becomes a legal court battle? Because, like, they just released this woman who had been persecuted because of the child abuse in a Jersey daycare center. They said she was sexually abusing the children. She denied it, but they found her guilty. She went to jail. The lawyers continued the battle, and after a number of years, she was freed. That it was unfounded.
All right, but that's entirely different. I mean, that's a single case of so and so said so and so against this woman.
Right, but I mean, with Reich, it was also so.
Yeah, but here you're dealing with the whole psychiatric, psychoanalytical, and the FDA and the pharmaceutical industry against Dr. Reich. And we have the data that the pharmaceutical industry. I'll just quote, from, I think I mentioned this last time, Harry Green, a lawyer from New Jersey, very well-known lawyer, international lawyer, who happened to be the lawyer for the pharmaceutical companies in Jersey, Johnson & Johnson, a whole bunch of them. And how did he get involved with Dr. Reich? Well, his daughter, who was a very sick girl, had gone through a lot of treatment with psychiatry and even psychoanalysis, and she was very sick, and didn't get anywhere, and she went into treatment, I think, with Dr. Baker, and she was helped quite a bit, and her father, Green, Mr. Green, was impressed, and Baker spoke to him, and he spoke to him about the tax, the FDA and the American Psychiatric and whatnot, and that Hillside thing too. He said, you have a case against them. I said, well, are you interested? So he did come in, and he spoke to Dr. Reich, and Dr. Reich said, well, see what you can do. Anyhow, at one point, they had a pharmaceutical convention in Atlantic City. And the president of the American Pharmaceutical Association was from New Jersey, who Mr. Green knew very well. And at the convention, in a very naive way, Mr. Green went to him and said, have you heard about this accumulator, Dr. Reich, And he said, oh, yeah, he's a nut, he said. He said, he's got that box. And so Green said, well, do you think there's anything to it? He said, nah, there's nothing to it. He said, but if there was anything to it, he said, we'd have to smash it because it would really harm the pharmaceutical industry. So anyhow, Green reported at Dr. Reich, and he said, you can hire me, he said, but this would cost you literally, and I can tell you what the lawyer fees cost, millions of dollars, and you'd probably get nowhere. So you'd have the pharmaceutical, primarily the American Psychiatric, the Food and Drug Administration, the AMA were brought in because Brady's article, So, so we just dropped it, and we have it all recorded. So let's go on here. And on November 48, Dr. Miller, just give you a small, it's more than this, but I'll just give you a synopsis. Dr. Joseph S.A. Miller, a New York psychoanalyst, told his staff that Dr. Obendorf had reported that a woman patient had been masturbated at the Orgone Institute. Obendorf, who happened to be one of the foremost psychoanalysts who trained with Freud and also with Dr. Reich, denied having said that. After Miller said, Obendorf said he said it. The woman, who had never been to the Orgone Institute, never even communicated with the Institute, gave the Institute lawyers a signed statement, which I have, to this effect. Miller admitted he was guilty of spreading rumors, but he made no public retraction. The law office, Arthur Garfield Hayes, who was one of the foremost civil rights lawyer at that time, began a libel charge, but did not carry it out. Why? He talked about Dr. Reich, he understood the origin of the plague, and he just couldn't ruin anybody who was sick. We had a meeting, and I mentioned this the last time too, it should be mentioned again, on should we go ahead with Arthur Garfield Hayes. And because Arthur Garfield Hayes, he said, you have a very good case here. And so we took a vote. Everybody said yes. Dr. Reich says, I can't do it. He says, I'd ruin that man's life. That was the end of that. Now, I don't know what you think of that. Do you think he should have gone on? That was him. I mean, either he believed, and he not believed, belief is faith. He knew that the plague is like any other disease. And do you punish people like that? Of course, the plague was punishing him, and eventually...
It's not a question of punishment. It's a question of treatment. This goes right back to the beginning of the discussion about what you do with violent criminals. If you don't put them to death and you can't guarantee to restrict them, then they're going to go out and they're going to take innocent life. I understand as much as I can understand. I'm not a doctor, and I didn't know Dr. Wright. With everything that I've learned about him from you, I imagine it wasn't in Dr. Wright to do this to a fellow human being, but it's just like someone else said before. If this was a cancer, it would be operative. You've always told me the first thing that you do is you take out the tumor. If it's a threat, you take out the tumor. Now, it's not a question of making this person pay. It's a question of setting the record straight. Just the same thing that you do with a bully. If you can't get away from a bully, then other bullies will follow you and terrorize you.
See, again, you're I mean, I don't know if you're right or wrong, or whether he was right or wrong. See, I raised my hand and said, let's go ahead, But Dr. Reich explained, sure, the Miller would admit, and he did admit later on in writing, he said I should have had my head examined for doing that. But in between, they would have brought in all the so-called authorities, all based on Brady's article, or even reading some of his works, of course, the accumulator and all like that. And that would all been out, and they would have really, the positive results would have been completely outweighed by the negative results. It's not that, it's not that easy. The plague is, you feel it all the time,
I think also historic, you have to understand that in Reich's experiences in Denmark, particularly, where he had stood up and had pursued this and even attempted legal action within the limits of his position in Denmark, every meeting, every legal action resulted in not an increased knowledge of the truth, but increased attacks. He got more public support among the people who were interested in his work, but the level of the attacks increased and the level of the lies increased,
Sure.
Almost catastrophic.
That's it.
And eventually it led, if anything, I was just reading an article in which he said he felt that the attempt to go public in Denmark probably hastened his exile from Denmark.
Yeah. See, again, you have to, we were talking about this, you always have to remember, he said, the only way to further study and work is to do the work and publish. If they let you, of course, they wouldn't let him after a while. And everybody else, you know, they're still around. Every so often you hear little articles about, I don't know why, but they do. It's in August '49, Dr. Ellsworth Baker, candidacy for fellowship in the American College of Physicians, was regularly deferred due to what the executive secretary termed his teaching of a cult known as orgone therapy. Dr. Baker then resolved from the American College of Physicians. He was very well known and did a lot of work. August 1950 in the Sunday Compass. Anybody remember the Compass? It was the PM. It was before the PM, and it was a good it was a daily newspaper. Dr. Rose Franzblau. Anybody remember her? Yeah. She gave you all the information you want to know on sexuality. Right. Don't ever touch it. Answered an inquiry about orgone therapy by quoting from the Brady New Republic article, smear. The lie was spread by irresponsible journalism. That's She was a doctor, you know, a real considered sexologist. If she published, if they published today she published about gays and everything, God, they would have burned the paper down.
Well, that's part of it, isn't it?
Huh?
It really should be pointed out that the Times, that was part of it.
Oh yeah.
You couldn't.
Oh yeah. There's no question about it. I remember at times, Dr. Reich said it's too early to bring. It's interesting that you say that. And I mentioned, I think, the last lecture, the last time I met Dr. Reich, and I asked him, I said, what's the one big mistake you made? He said, I published too much. He said, if I were to do it over again, I would delay publishing a lot of stuff. In fact, as you all know, many of you know, that he has around, they claim, I don't know the files, 75,000 to 100,000 pages of written manuscript. And in this will, he said that's not to be published until the year 2007, 50 years. So you're right on that, you know. You have to, it's a matter of timing like anything else. You have to, so, yeah. Then in 1950, The Mask of Sanity, which really put another stake in Dr. Reich's coffin. Harvey Cleckley, MD from Atlanta, Georgia, brought out in a revised edition in which Reich was given as an example of a psychopath on the basis of the Brady article and the AMA's rehash of the Brady lies. The red fascist lie was thus amplified and spread to medical schools by a doctor who used